Hi, today I'm going to explain how a LTE module is going to communicate with the SD card and how it can implement the file system such as reading, writing, and make directory and remove the directory with AT command. In this tutorial, I'm going to use SIMCom cellular module. The part number is SIM7600E, and some specification of the data transfer is there is used the Cat1 and uplink speed is going to be 5 megabit per second and downlink is going to be 10 megabit per second. This is how my development board looks like. In the left hand side picture, as you can see here, I use a 32 gigabyte SD card and I'm using 4G SIM card. In the right hand side, my development board has a pin header which allow me to use serial port as a communication protocol with the laptop. This is how the system wiring diagram of the tutorial looks like. As I mentioned, I'm using serial port as a communication protocol. In the middle, I'm using a USB to serial converter to allow me to receive and send the data from laptop. There are two LED mounted on the development board which I'm using. Red is a power LED and green is a network status. As you can see here in the table, we can easily figure out the status of the network based on the duty cycle of the LED. As you can see here, if I expect my network would be 4G, the duty cycle of the LED would be 400 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds on and 200 milliseconds off. This is how we know about the status of the network. In this tutorial, I'm using H-Terminal software as a software to communicate with the 4G module. There are two parameters we need to configure before use the software. First is a baud rate and second is a control characters or CRLF. Basically, CRLF are the parameters which allow us to send \r and \n at the end of every command we are sending through the software, and baud rate we are adjusting based on the default of the datasheet. For example, the datasheet mentioned the default baud rate for this module would be 115200 bit per second. There are two types of memories in this tutorial which we are going to discuss. First, in internal, it means the amount of the memory which is allocated inside the LTE module, and we can access to that memory to save the file or to save the information. Second method is the external memory. LTE module provides us 4-bit interface to communicate with the SD or MMC SD card. So it means we can connect the external memory and then the LTE module can communicate, can write the file, can remove the file, can make a directory with AT command, which in this tutorial we are focusing on this part. SIM7600 support up to 72 gigabyte SD card and is providing 4-bit SD MMC interface, and the clock rate would be up to 200 megahertz. The voltage of the SD card has to be 2.95 volt, and which is compatible with SDIO card version 3. This is the schematic which I'm using. Basically, I use 3.3 volt to power up the SD card, but my LTE module is still working without any issue. When we are using SIMCom module, internal memory known as a C drive and external memory known as a D drive. In this tutorial, we are working on 6 AT command for file system. Make directory, make file, write inside the file, read from the file, remove the directory, and remove the file. Let's start with the make directory. As I mentioned before, we have two types of directory. We can write in the internal memory or we can write in the SD card. We need to specify which drive are we targeting to write. For example, here my target would be drive D, means I have targeting to write in the SD card. Then second, I need to specify the name of the directory which I'm planning to create it. For example, here with atfs make directory equal the name of the directory, I'm going to create SIMTech directory inside the SD card. Let's implement it in the real development board. Next, I'm going to create a TXT file and write the data inside the file. To do this one, I'm going to use cf transmission rx command. This command is going to receive two data. First, the file path, the drive which is going to use for the writing the data, and also the length of the data which is going to write. So in this example, I'm going to specify external drive, means drive D, and also the file name would be test.txt file, and the amount of the length of the data would be 12 byte data. So after sending this command, 4G module is waiting for the data which is going to receive through the software and write this data in the file. So once the writing process finished, when I check the list directory, I could see one directory which I created before, and second is a txt file which I created in this stage. Let's implement it in the real development board. Now I'm going to read the 12 byte data which I already written in the file. To read the data from the file, I'm going to use cf transmission rx. This command receive one parameters, which is the path of the file and also the name of the file. This is how the command looks like. I'm using the drive D and the file name. So the output has to be the data which we already written in the file. It means test content. Let's implement it in the real development board. The last 80 command would be remove directory and remove file. So first, let's start with removing the directory. We are going to use fs remove directory equal the name of the directory. For example, in this example, we are going to remove SIMTech directory, and then after sending this command, the directory has to be removed from the SD card. To remove the file, we are going to use fs delete file name, and in this case we are going to remove test.txt file, and then after sending this command, the file has to remove and also the directory has to be removed.